Hello everyone, I'm Kieran and welcome to another episode of DRUID Talks. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of ophthalmology and how technology is revolutionizing patient care. Our goal today is to understand the pivotal role of AI and digital transformation in healthcare, specifically in ophthalmology. I'm thrilled to have Ola Spencer, Group CTO at Optegra, joining us today. Optegra are one of Europe's largest ophthalmology providers, and today we'll explore the technology driving this success and the impact it has on patient care. Welcome, Ola.
Hi, Kieran. Great to see you again.
You notice I'm struggling to pronounce words today, so I'm going to rely on you as the expert, Ola, to keep me and the audience on track as well. So let's see where we get to. So Ola, might you tell us a little bit about you and your background and your journey to becoming Group CTO at Optegra?
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran, I've spent the last probably 17 years in the healthcare and life sciences sector, focused actually mainly on transforming and growing businesses through innovation. And that's also very much where my passion is. And that's starting from developing new therapies for childhood cancers through technology consulting and really understanding how we successfully build digital capabilities in wider organizations. And then actually also working through FTSE 500 companies to look how we help them to reshape their strategies, enable them to transform into this patient consumer experience driven organizations, and one that really engages throughout the whole of the healthcare ecosystem, either that be providers, payers, patients, in very much innovative way, in the kind of ever-evolving, I don't think we can call it new anymore, but ever-evolving digital era. And really last 6 years spent with Optegra, at the beginning focusing on technology transformation and, hoping to tell you a bit more about it today. Then really through the COVID, looking at why the business model change transformation to today, leading really our operations and technology across the group. And that looking at anything from how we manage demand and supply through to our patients, pathway standardization, clinical outcomes, and really wider innovation digital agenda.
Oh, wow. No, that's a lot, and that sounds like fun. So, Ola, Optegra is one of Europe's largest ophthalmology platforms. Why are hospitals so interested in your technology? And it might be just a good point to explain what ophthalmology is as well to the audience listening in if they don't understand it. So what is it and why are hospitals so interested in AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Optegra, I think, we focus very much ophthalmology, which is anything to do with eye care, and that being for elderly, providing cataract surgeries to help people on the private side to lose their glasses through laser surgery. That could be treating glaucoma patients, AMD patients, and all the other conditions across our group. And that's what we call ophthalmology. As Optegra, what we has been, I think, across industry, but Optegra specifically, we've been growing at double digits. And that's mainly through the organic growth and activities for us. What that really means is that, we doubled the number of procedures we are providing. I think this year we're looking at 150,000 procedures across the group. For us across the group, that means UK, Czech, Poland, and Slovakia markets. But at the same time, if you look globally across Europe, healthcare services are facing huge challenges. And that's, everyone's with staffing shortages, nursing, clinical teams, aging population that actually requires that treatment. And therefore, we always been looking as a company, as a provider, how do we find the ways to support wider healthcare ecosystem, public services to mitigate some of those challenges. And hence huge focus on our patients as well as the clinical teams and the digital capabilities, how we can leverage that to drive optimization efficiency throughout those pathways for our patients. And I think, one of the biggest elements that has been super important here is full end-to-end pathway standardization, but then underpinned by paperless ways of working. And key element of that, an enabler, has been AI that really got us super energized over the past few months and driving some big changes for our patients, positive, and clinical teams.
And that AI, was that conversational AI, or what type of AI was it, Ola?
Yeah, so we focused on the initially conversational AI, and that's very much looking at how we leverage the voice AI as well as the chatbot, conversational chatbot on the website, AI in multiple languages to support our patient journey and medical assessments throughout the organization.
Yeah, see, that's the interesting bit, isn't it? Because, with conversational AI, people very often find that easier. We're not natural typists, but we are natural conversationalists.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's see. So how does generative AI support your great clinical outcomes?
Yeah, so essentially, what we focused over the this year in 2024, we focused on implementing voice bots and a chat bot for both kind of inbound and outbound calls to our patients to help us to do pre-operative assessments throughout the whole of the patient journey. So I think some of the challenges as you start implementing and looking at the AI is how do you identify the use case that will drive the value, not just only to the organization, it's for the patients, for clinical teams, everyone's that are involved throughout the whole of the journey for that patient. So we identify pre-medical assessments, as I mentioned, we're growing as an organization, but, we're supporting public services. So that means also much higher volumes. Pre-operative assessment needs to be done for every single patient before the surgery. So we essentially doing probably around, in the UK, 1,000 pre-operative assessments per week. So these are huge numbers we're talking about. That's what we utilizing our DRUID AI voice bot and a chatbot to support. And what's actually really amazing is that what that drives is really great also the clinical outcome, Kieran, as you mentioned. And that's very seen, when we run some of the initial assessments, you can see that our NPS scores are, above, for those AI patients who went through the AI journey, are above 97%. This is absolutely exceptional. And here we're talking about the populations of patients who are 60 plus. So the patients that are coming for a cataract surgery, my mom, my grandma, at that sort of age. And we called after every single voice assessment, we called those patients back throughout the first phase, 2,000 patients. And we asked them, what was your initial perception? How was the conversation, the assessment? And they all were very happy, satisfied, saying, great outcome, very clear, understanding different accents, giving me time to collect the information about my medications and all the elements. And what we also then seen is that as we look at wider clinical outcomes, that, our infection rates are far below industry standards, 0.006. The same visual acuity outcomes are 99% above any of the industry standards. So we are really driving and focused on that across all of the patient pathway.
And that's the DRUID voice bot you're using to do inbound and outbound?
Yeah, exactly. So DRUID voice bot, and essentially, if you think about the patient journey, is the patients will be told that, you will receive, and we actually call it Iris. It has a name. So Iris will call you, our virtual assistant, to do your preoperative assessment at this time tomorrow. So the patient is communicated throughout the journey to understand what's going to happen, and they are expecting that call. And essentially, the Iris will take them through a series of 15 to 20, really depending on the conditions, questions about what comorbidities do you have, how do you feel, have you got, what medications are you on? So all the medical questions, and then they will continue the journey to book them for a face-to-face diagnostics assessment.
And then the outbound you mentioned is post-operative. It's the NPS, it's the checking on how they're doing, conditions and everything else.
Exactly, yes, yeah. Correct.
So you've been on this journey 5 years or more with conversational AI. What's the journey been like?
Yeah, you know what, the journey definitely feels a little bit long, but I think, you know, there was a lot of prerequisites, to be honest. And that's why the journey started a long time ago, before you can even get to fully AI and utilizing those capabilities. You know, we transformed all of our infrastructure across all of our hospitals, you know, shifting into 97% cloud capability. So all of our data are in cloud to enable that. Implementing new clinical systems, some of them based on actually open source code, which is like OpenEyes, our clinical system, building the data and connecting all the medical devices. So that has taken us time to then coupled with the pathway standardization on top of that. And I think those two elements and factors and clearly building the organization behind it then allowed us to shift the dial into leveraging the AI technology. I think, you know, if you're not fully standardized, you've got different technology or technology that you can't just plug and play in a simplistic shape. It's very hard to leverage and drive the real value out of that AI. So I think the journey has been amazing. I think, you know, if you really think about it, what I think was super important is that the wider organization must have the ownership of that vision that you're driving. And then you need to essentially enable them to accomplish it. And I think we've invested not only into technology, but to our people to actually enable and all of those elements to come together. And I think, you know, also what you see, and I think that's a big part of the AI, is that I would always say that every successful organization has to make the transition from a world defined primarily by repetition to one that is defined by a change. And that's what helps you to make that change and drive the benefits, not just for us, but for patients, our clinical teams.
I love the way you've kept, you know, the technology and the people and the education and the patients there, because you were telling me when we were doing preparation for this, your pre-op assessments. I think you gave me statistics talking about how long it takes the NHS, and it's not a criticism of the NHS and how much it costs, but with all of your technology transformation, your numbers have improved and improved and improved. Do you remember those numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? So it's quite interesting that in the NHS setting, those pre-medical assessments are still done with clinical teams, with nurses, you know, highly qualified. And that's probably typical 30 minutes assessment, which probably costs NHS around 50, 60 pounds. We then made a journey into kind of virtual assessments over the phone. But then, you know, if you couple that with the growing volumes, then you're locking the potential of your clinical teams and availability for our patients. And therefore, we then shifted into the AI, which probably, you know, at this stage is something like £2, £1 per pre-medical assessment, which is a huge difference. But I think, you know, the most important element here is releasing the clinical teams to spend the valuable time on more complex clinical cases with the patients, because we just simply don't have infinite resources to do that.
Yeah, I don't think the NHS, or not knocking the NHS, most medical services around the world, the demand is going up, but the lack of clinical staff, the lack or shortage of money, and the increase in demand are all crashing together at the same time. But 50-60 to 2, you know, is just an extraordinary experience, an extraordinary amount. I wish maybe more adopted that. Ola, why did you choose DRUID AI out of all of the platforms that you could have chosen?
Yeah, good question. You know, there is always the technology questions, why you choose something above the other. I think, you know, it's a multiple dimensions. It's definitely not just one. I think, you know, we've spent time doing a market assessments, looking at the platforms. For us, huge element was around, we knew that we want to focus on a patient-centric platform, the one that will provide the capabilities, but at the same time, it's easy to use and we can plug and play, so that interoperability and coming into our environment to essentially be providing that seamless touch point for our patients was absolutely critical. And DRUID was really one of the few who were able to do that, especially on that interoperability element. The second element comes into that is credentials. I think everyone's always checked the credentials. I think we were super lucky to have the opportunity to also talk to Regina Maria, largest Romanian private hospitals, who has been actually on pretty incredible AI journey for the last 4 or 5 years. And I would say probably 80% of the interactions of the patients, from booking the appointments and all of the elements, is handled via that platform with a great success. And I think, all of that coupled with a great team that we've met throughout the process. And that's not just only from a cultural fit perspective, but I think also the capabilities, the skills, the knowledge of the platform, and future roadmap and a product development, super important. We need the partners that can change equally as we go through a change journey, because we strongly believe that it's that transformation element. The companies that do change, they probably survive, but the companies that actually do truly transform, they do thrive. And I think that's what we also look from our partners, to thrive together with us throughout that journey. And I think DRUID is one of those partners.
It's interesting, your company DRUID and Regina Maria, real transformation stories there. And I adore those, because if you just tinker at the edges, you'll get a more efficient machine, but anybody can copy that. Whereas real competitive advantage means very often reinventing how you do things.
So I hope that we can catch up faster with Regina Maria.
I have a funny feeling you will. So what is the future of healthcare, what does the future of eye care look like for you then?
Yeah, I think what the eye care and the whole ophthalmology landscape is very exciting, is the one that maybe because it's a single disciplinary and not multidisciplinary hospital, it's the one also that is ambulatory, not super complex cases. Of course, you've got those, but if we look from the cataract and refractive surgery perspective, so we can drive a lot of change and transformation. I think what we focus on is we can see still huge growth across the market, and how we can support public and private patients. I think, we strongly want to continue to transform that patient journey. That patient angle and people element coupled with technology is the core, at the heart of anything we do. And I think, AI's integration into the whole ophthalmology gives us, almost creates for us a seamless, that efficient, highly personalized patient journey. From the initial appointment through to post-surgery care, ultimately leading those better clinical outcomes and patient satisfaction. So as much as we focused on the pre-medical assessments, Iris, look out, but Iris will be expanding across everything, supporting our patients for their appointments. How do I log into my portal? What does it mean? I forgot my eye drops. What do I need to do? Actually, my surgery is in 7 days' time. What do I need to do? So really supporting the patients at any time. And actually what maybe also we haven't mentioned is that in any language. It's not enough that we operate across a number of countries, and we are rolling out AI DRUID capabilities across Poland and Czech and other markets. But actually, in the UK itself, it's amazing, but we live in, multi-language, multinational environment, and quite often we do need translators, which is very difficult over the phone or in person, and DRUID gives us that ability to actually translate on the spot, either via the chat or the voice, which for our patients it's pretty incredible and transformative.
It sounds it, Ola. Look, thank you so much for coming on DRUID Talks today. I love your journey. I love that you educated a business first. I love that you digitally transformed your technology stack and moved it into the cloud, and then went into AI. And I absolutely adore your ambition when it comes to an unenviable, unbelievable focus on patient outcomes. And how you deliver more and better for them using all of the technology and all of the professionals you've got in a really, really efficient and affordable way, using what sounds like a technology that allows you to communicate at every level of that journey in multiple languages. And that's the bit that possibly people forget as well. But we do live in a multicultural world. And the easier we make it for people to actually engage with us, the better. An amazing, amazing story.
Yeah, and and we're hoping that is just only the start, and we'll continue.
Well, I look forward to interviewing you again then, because I suspect with your drive and ambition, this is only the start. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, Kieran, for that. Lovely speaking to you.